Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So without further ado, I'd like to jump into this episode's topic, which is how do our sexual practices kill us as a people? So, I wanted to first start off by saying a disclaimer. This does not apply to all Black men and women, but if we're honest with ourselves, we do have a problem within our communities in this country. And, I'm only speaking out of love and out of experience as a Black woman and person in this country. So, let me continue. I wanted to start off by first saying the Black man was given the image of being a pimp and a player and a buck. So, he was given an image of controlling and abusing women sexually, not having any regards to the feelings of his own woman, being a player, juggling multiple women without taking any type of responsibility for those women. So that's already taken the Black man out of his natural state of being, because any race of man knows that he is leader and head, and not just leader and head, and for women just to be submissive to them, but they're also responsible and accountable for their own women and children. So that's been separated and bifurcated from Black men. Okay, so they're just like, having sex and no responsibility, don't care about where their seeds land. It doesn't matter. Also, while the Black woman was given the image of selling and giving her body for little value. And today we see the Black woman prostrating and posing and obscene gestures and ways for little value, for no value, just for a like on Facebook, on Instagram, just to get a little bit of attention. You'll see a Black woman with no clothes on, as if this is harmless to her self-esteem, her image, and Black women across the world. So we're taught, to sell our body and to sell our sexuality for little value. So we're not taught to have sex for marriage. As Black women, we're taught just to have sex and to show ourselves sexually for just a little bit of a like. And along the way, some of our elders passed this mentality down to our generations. So, there are some Black men, especially in the urban areas, that say, hey, you got to control that broad. You got to control that bitch. And I'm like, that sounds like a slave master. That sounds like a white man talking about Black women, so you got to put that bitch in check. So he's not teaching his young Black pupil or young Black male, you got to go to school, you got to educate yourself, you got to keep your criminal record clean. You want that pretty woman, you got to go make something of yourself so that you can provide a stable family and environment that she can teach and raise your children to go off and produce future other generations for our family's name, son. He's not teaching him that. He's teaching him, how to impregnate and juggle and to deny responsibility, for Black women. Okay. Um, White people were taught to join families together and to never be separated. So they were taught, you don't separate, from your family, no matter what, basically. Some I'm sure little asterisks or fine print as to why you would leave, but they were taught not to separate. Meanwhile, Blacks were taught to only produce to make babies and not families. So we have a lot of babies, okay? We have a lot of children, but we don't have a lot of Black families. Many times there was no wealth to join together. So, with white people, they joined families for wealth, to make treaties upon lands and whatnot. And we used to do the same too when we were in leadership. But, Black people, because, we really had nothing, especially out of slavery, during slavery, the only thing we could do really is to make children and, basically survive. And we didn't really have anything to join together. But we do have love, though, and that's what we still could have for one another, though. Okay, so I want to continue. Young black men aren't raised to lead because many fathers are gone. Or a misguided black man is teaching him how to control black women. Okay, so it's nothing wrong with a man being head, but they're really taught. So either the black man is raised without a man being in the home, or they're raised with the wrong man in the home, and that man is teaching them, basically how to abuse women, how to pimp women, or they're not learning it in the home. They may learn it out on the street from some man that young black boy looks up to, and he's teaching him the wrong way because that man was taught the wrong way. Okay? Young black women are taught to use their bodies as weapons and to use what they have sexually to get what they want, leading to many unplanned pregnancies and abortions. So, black women aren't taught to keep their legs closed. They're not taught to, when you don't have any children, you're the freshest and most sought after for marriage. We're taught as black women to aim low, just to have a baby, collect a check, and so this is our token in life. So we've been taught that this is our lot in life as black women, is to have babies, and that's it. Not marriage, not a man that's going to stay and raise the children so that our lives will be easier while we're raising their children, but just we're causing misery upon ourselves too. So it's hand in hand with black men and black women. Let me continue. Black men are taught not to think about the consequences as to where they plant their seed. They are taught that it doesn't matter. They are also taught that responsibility of pregnancy falls solely on females. So I wanted to go on to say white people were taught the art of courtship. But before I go into the art of courtship, black men are pretty much taught, it's your fault if you get pregnant. Okay, it was my sperm that helped you get pregnant, but it's your fault. You should have been on a pill. You should have been on a shot. So I'm taking no responsibility, as to why you're pregnant. So black men expect to be treated as leaders and head, but they are shirking their responsibilities and duties. And it is 50-50. It's 50-50 responsibility. So there's two people that join together, 50%, sexual conduct that has ensued, but at the same time, a lot of black men are saying, this woman trapped me. How did I end up on child support? What's going on? I don't care if you're pregnant. That's not my business. So this is a slave plantation type of mentality for you to pop a seed somewhere and not really care about it. Okay, so you had a good time with her. Unprotected sex was great, and but I don't care about the consequences or after effects, and I don't care about that woman's life. So a lot of black men are not caring about that woman's life or well-being after the fun is gone. Okay. I also want to talk about the fact that white people were taught the art of courtship, and what is courtship? Courtship is a process of mate selection for long-term marriage. Okay, so this is not dating and just having sex and then you get tired of someone and then you leave. This is a structured way of selecting a mate. So this is usually courtship is usually two people that are interested in each other, or sometimes it's arranged by the elders, you know. So there's, usually two couples that are married. So there's a man that's married and there's a woman that's married. Usually a married couple supervises the two, so there's chaperones to make sure there's nothing sexual that happens between the two people that are courting. And they usually match their qualifications up together. So the man's qualifications and the woman's qualifications are compare and contrast it to see if they're going to be a good fit for each other. So it's not just based off of a sexual relationship. So they're seeing if they'll, they're, they may take DNA tests, genes to see if their genes are compatible. All sorts of methods have been used. So anytime they go on a date or they spend time together, it's always chaperone. because the male and female, it's their nature to intertwine. So if their feelings get the best of them, there's someone there that's married, usually a couple, or their parents may be there, or someone that can supervise the activities. And then they're usually given a certain amount of time. So this is not something that you can just taste and dabble and then walk away. This is something that it's either a yes or a no. So this is what white people are taught, but black people, we're taught, hey, if it feel right, it's right. If it feel good, it's good. And then we end up getting ourselves in lifetime situations full of regret, increasing our poverty and violence in our communities because of hatred for the mistakes that we've made and the situations. So it's time basically for Black people to take responsibility for their own actions and learn different methods that are going to benefit our people and our children and each other. So let me continue. Black people were taught not to even know the name of the person that they laid down with, but only to follow their lust and desire to produce more Black children for mass production and incarceration. So look at our name, look at our songs. I know one song that came out, I'm sure you remember. I don't want to get graphic, but it says, I knew her before I knew her name. So I knew her, I'm not going to say it, but I knew her body before I knew her name. So this is what's perpetuated in our songs. So basically a lot of us don't even know the real person, the real name of the person that we're sleeping with, but we're just, oh, she's fine, or oh, he's handsome. Oh, but and so we're taught just to have kids, just to follow what we feel like. So we're having all these kids, for mass production. Okay, so to go out here and work, you know, not to form enterprises or alliances or any of that, okay, or legacies. We're just taught to have children just to basically be locked up, because this is the recipe for our children being locked up. With the fathers being out the home, mothers being at work, stressed out, which I'm going to make an episode about that, the makings, of a criminal child in the Black community, and how not only Black women, but Black men are very heavily responsible for our children and the condition that they are in 2021. Okay, and how unruly they are. Some of them, not all of them, but how the problems that we're having in this, generation with a lot of our children. Let me continue. Black men were taught to heartlessly and carelessly leave their Black offspring. They were taught, that I shake my genitalia and I'm done with that situation. I hate to put it that way, but after the fun is gone, they don't care about what happens to their offspring. Okay, that they say they care, but if you really care, you would stick around to raise them. And a lot of times, you hear a lot of Black brothers say, "Oh, the Black woman doesn't care about my children because she won't let me see them." But the news flash for the Black man is, if you cared about your children, then whatever caused you to leave the home and distracted you to leave the home wouldn't have been able to do so if you loved your children. So it's time for the Black man to stop placing 100% responsibility of the care of the children on Black women and then blaming them, when something goes wrong. Okay, because it's a 50-50 thing. If you cared about your children, if you had value in your children, you would be able to stick around, not next door, not across the street, not in another country or city, but you would stick around and grow old and take the responsibility of raising your children, not leaving it on another man or someone else. Okay, to keep going, many Black men try to juggle more than one family, only to find out that this doesn't work. They've been taught to turn a deaf ear to the cry of the Black woman. So they've been taught to turn a deaf ear to the Black woman's cry for help. So you'll hear Black men say, "Oh, you're too emotional." Then they'll say, the Black women are too emotional. Well, that's crazy because Black women, women, period, regardless of race, we are emotion. So I don't understand. And then they complain that Black women are too manly. But Black men are telling us to toughen up. They're complaining that Black women are too strong, but yet they're leaving us in situations that are conducive to us having to be stronger than what a woman should have to be, which I'll make another episode about that too. Um, Black men were never taught that when you impregnate a woman with no plans of marriage, that you are ruining some woman's life, and how this affects any offspring. They are simply taught not to care. Okay? And although many black men complain about black women running to a system for help, but black men automatically deny paternity, assuming that the state will take care of the children they don't want. So, you hear this a lot, you hear, black men, on podcasts, YouTube, whatever, talking about, black women, how quick they are to run for help, from the system. But little is being talked about when a black woman comes to the black man and says, "Hey, I'm pregnant." There's no talk of marriage or anything. This is, girl, whose baby is it? Who you talking? Who's the father? So they're complaining about black women going to the system. Yet, they are putting black women too in a situation to where they're going to go to the system for help, if they're not going to help. Okay, if the black man is not going to help his woman. Okay, because I know black men know that not every black woman's a whore. So not every black woman is sleeping around, with multiple men. So some of them just refuse to want to take responsibility once again after the fun is gone. So let me continue. Many black men cannot be platonic friends with the black woman due to lack of self control. If the black woman isn't offering sex, he isn't answering his phone. So, is it safe to say that many black men find it useless to hang out with black women if they aren't offering sex? So this is another thing too. So how are you going to get to know somebody for the long haul instead of it being a short-lived booty call or fling, if you don't get to know someone on a friendship level? If you don't have, so when you get mad during a marriage, if you have your arguments and disagreements, you don't have a foundation of friendship to fall back on because you guys don't have that bond because there never was a bond to begin with. It only started off as sex. And I can't tell you how many brothers, I'm hoping the black man can get it together. That you try to hang out and say, what do you? If a black man, for example, asks, "What do you want?" And if a sister says, "I want a friendship," a black man, so many black men will say, "That's fine. I want a friendship too." But then when you get around them, they're somewhere trying to enforce sex. They're trying to have sex with that woman. And some black women are actually looking for friends. And some black men take that as a slap in the face, like, well, if you're friends with me, who are you having sex with? You have to be having sex with someone. So that's insinuating, once again, that black women are whores because some black women aren't having sex with any other man. They're looking for a friend. So it's not about them trying to use a man or any of that. They're just basically looking to, be friends. So black men and black women need to learn how to hang around each other without having sex. Okay, so let me continue to go on. Why do we as black people think that it is normal to live outside of the home and separate from our children? This has become our normal, to have children with each other and not live with each other. Like, this is just normal, so it's become acceptable in our community. Another thing, why have black women been taught that the real cash cow is to live off the income from having children by multiple men? Okay, so that's one thing that a lot of black women have been taught. They've been taught to not need a man and just to, take their money. Um, and it's killing black women by stress, having to work. When that child support money doesn't come in, the stress level of having to work when you got 4 or 5 kids, not being able to teach your kids properly because by the time you come home, you're so tired that you can't even do anything but go to sleep. The children are unsupervised, unmonitored, and they're getting off into certain dangerous situations, but you're so tired, you're playing the man and woman in the house, and it's just a whole bunch that goes into that. um, I like to keep going. Where is the black woman's father at? So where's the black woman's father to teach her not to be promiscuous, to protect her from men that may take advantage of her? That's one thing for black men to always say that, oh, that black woman You shouldn't have picked that man. You shouldn't have let that man play you. But the reality is, it's time for the black fathers to step up to make sure that their black daughters aren't getting played by men. Okay, so let me continue. Why do black men sexually turn out young black women? Because they see that she has no male protection. Then the black man says, why are all of our women whores? So, I find that interesting. A lot of, black men will turn out sexually young black girls and women in their communities, okay, because they see that there's no one around that's going to protect her. Okay, and then the black man says, why are all of our women whores, or why are they all promiscuous running around, thinking it's okay to sleep with 4 or 5 men? Okay, when those 4 or 5 men left her too, and even the first one did. And if you don't want your daughters to be one of those women, you have to be there every day under the roof to make sure no man's slipping in the house to your daughter. So you can't leave your daughter to be raised by another man. Okay, it's up to you as a black father to make sure that you're there with your black daughters, that you're there with your black sons, okay, to make sure that they're getting the proper education and the proper influence. Okay, let me keep going. When are we as black people going to stop the art form of plantation breeding? So let me explain what plantation breeding is. Plantation breeding is to have sex and procreate for someone you with excuse me. Plantation breeding is to have sex and procreate with someone that you may never see again and have no feelings for. So look at us as black people, so this is not all black people, but look at us though. We'll have sex with someone that we don't know. We don't know their name. We meet off a chat line. We meet off the internet. We meet off of Facebook. Just because of what they look like. Okay, or a female would sleep with a guy just because of his money or whatever. We don't know anything about them, their characteristics, or anything, their morality. How they view God, or if they don't, view God or whatever, and someone that you may never see again and have no feelings for. So that's what we were taught in slavery. We were taught just to lay down and have babies, by someone that may be sold to another plantation that you may never see again. And how is this done in 2021? It's done through one night stands, booty calls, baby daddy and baby mamas. Okay. That's how it's done, the plantation breeding. They just came up with a more fancier term for us. So they gave us terms, some black people sung it in a song, and now we think it's popular. We think it's popular, but it's plantation breeding, and it's killing our people too. Let me continue. Meanwhile, white people brag about black children growing up in fatherless homes, while black women remain husbandless, yet a household full of children. Meanwhile, the black man is taught that if you don't like your family or the woman, leave her hanging. When the reality is that black man never knew her. So I'll repeat that again. So the black man was taught that if you don't like your family, you don't like the woman, leave her hanging. And the reality is, many times these black men don't even know these black women that they're sleeping with, to even care about her well being. So, as black people, I'm hoping we can change our practices on how we deal with each other, our mate selection, and just overall, how we deal with each other, because it's causing, like I said, generational poverty. It's causing anger and bitterness between black men and black women. And let's face it, the system and white people are just making boodles and oodles of money off of our ignorance and mistakes and our failures to correct them. Look, I love you all, and it's been a pleasure talking with you all. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can at thetruthwithtrinity.com. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can also contact me at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can listen to my podcast on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.